Exam hipsters will be able to write and graph equations from real-world problems. We want to go through and we want to start by writing our equation. So we can do this with the units. Some of you actually may do this and you may say you want to start with your T-chart. Let's go ahead and start this one with the equation. We can do the other one starting with the T-chart. So my equation is I'm looking to find out his net worth, which is Y dollars. I see my rate here is in dollars per day, so I need to set that one up so dollars is on top. For 1 day. And the number of days that passes, that's my unknown, my other unknown. And what's my starting net worth? What's the starting net worth here? Jesslyn. Careful. It's not that. Yep. Negative $15. All right, so we end up with plus a negative $15. So as we write our equation, we get our equation is y is equal to 1.5x plus negative 15. Now, as we get ready to start thinking about a T-chart and graphing this, when we're dealing with graphing things, it's usually a lot easier to graph when we have a whole number slope. So we can do exactly what we did in the do now, and we can take this slope, 1.5 over 1, and let's change it. Change in y over change in x is currently 1.5 over 1. What can I multiply my numerator and denominator by to make this whole numbers? What can I multiply my numerator and denominator by to make this whole numbers? Is it here? 2. That's going to give me 3 over 2. So I'm going to rewrite this as y is equal to 3 halves x plus negative 15. This is the equation that I want to graph. Now the next question is meant to help you determine, because you can see, did I put axes on your coordinate grid up here? No, I didn't. Because I'm going to let you place the axes today in situations that make it easier for you. But the question is, what negative values are relevant? In other words, are negative x values relevant? So it's talking about negative days. Are those values relevant? No. Okay, so x values all positive. What about the y values? Are negative values relevant for the y values? Yeah, because he can have a negative net worth. In fact, he starts with a negative net worth. So negative, okay, for these. So when I want to go ahead and place my axes, I don't need any negative x values, so I can actually place my y-axis here, right along the edge. And I probably want to go ahead and place my y-axis in such a way that I'm thinking like I've got to get down to negative 15. I can change it, set it up so I would have to count by more, or I can set it up so I have at least 15 squares below. And it kind of depends on how far you want to go with this grid. For me, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to make my starting point, I'm going to make this 0, negative 15. So I'm going to count up to find out where my axis should go. So this would be negative 14, negative 13, negative 12, negative 11, negative 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. So my axis looks like it should be right here. Could I have put my axis somewhere else? Absolutely. But if I put it any lower, then that means I'm going to have to put a scale on my y-axis. And I would prefer to just count by ones. It makes it a whole lot easier. So since I have that option, that's what I want to do. If I want to go ahead and graph this, how am I going to follow the slope here? What's my change in y? What's my change in y? What's my change in y? Axel, what's my change in y? Three times up or down? Okay, so I'm going to go up 3 and left or right? How many? 2. 2, yeah, so my change in x is 2. So this is my next point. Keep following that. Change in y up 3 over 2. So he is increasing his net worth. That makes sense because he is paying off his debt. And again, you want to use a nice straight edge, or you can continue to draw out your points, or both. All right. And we can use that to make our t-chart if we wanted to. I didn't give you a whole lot of space to make a t-chart. So I'm not going to make you make a t-chart. You need to write the equation and then graph it. If you need the t-chart, feel free to do a t-chart on your own scratch paper to help you figure it out. How many days will it take him to break even with Kayla? So again, what does it mean to break even? There were a whole bunch of people who were getting ready to answer this question, and obviously you knew what break even meant if you were getting ready to answer this question. Samantha? Yeah, you don't owe anything, but you don't have anything. So when he breaks even, that means his net worth is going to be 0. How many days will it take for his net worth to be 0? You can look at your graph. You don't have to solve. Look at your graph. How many days until his net worth is 0? Maybe it'll help to label these axes. The y-axis label should be what? Y-axis are up and down. Go back and look at your units. What are the units of your y and what are the units of your x? The y units should be what? Y units should be what? Dollars. X units should be what? That comes directly out of how we wrote this equation. Right down here. Our y was dollars, our x was days. So how many days until the y is 0? How many days until his net worth is 0? Jorge? 5? Where'd you get that? So you counted the points. So you're counting that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, but those don't necessarily represent days because actually they're going over 2 days in between each point. So it's 10 because we can count it right here on the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days until the line crosses the 0 point. 10 days. What is his net worth if he has 8 days of, I guess not perfect homework, if he has 8 days of payments? What is his net worth if he has 8 days of payments? What is his net worth at 8 days? So you should be coming over to 8 days, which we know is 2 days away from 10, and you should be figuring out where that point is on your line. What is his net worth after 8 days? William? -3. So we see we came down from 8 days, we hit our line, we came over and we read that was at -3. He still owes Kayla $3. All right, let's come over and look at this one. It says a pizza costs $5 plus $1.25 for every topping. Write an equation to relate the relationship. An equation to relate the total cost of the pizza and the number of toppings. You should have gotten your equation to look like this, but if we want to graph it, it's a whole lot easier to graph it probably if we have a whole number for our slope. And right now we've got a whole number, not a whole number for our slope, but a whole number fraction for our slope. How can I change this? How can I change this 1.25 to something that's going to be easier to graph? Jalen. All right, so he's saying multiply by 2. I have 1.25 over 1, and I multiply by 1, and I'm multiplying by 2 over 2. $1.25 times $1.25 is going to give me, sorry, $1.25 times 2, that's going to give me $2.50, 2.5 over 2. So that didn't quite get us where we needed to be, but we can take it one step further. I've got 2.5 over 2, and what can I multiply now to actually get it where I really want it to be? If I've got 2.5 over 2, we can come over and write this as y equals 5/4 x plus 5. All right, now we want to get ready to graph it. The question is, are negative values relevant? Negative x values. What are my x values? What are the units on my x? What are the units on my x? Isaiah? Come back over and look at it. Look over at your work. Should be toppings. Is it relevant to have negative toppings? X is toppings. No, that's not relevant. What about y values? Our y values represent what? Omar. Money. Specifically, cost. If we are paying for a pizza, are negative values relevant? Negative values can be relevant in money, but in the case where you are buying something from a store, that is never going to be relevant because you're never going to pay negative dollars for something. So in this particular case, the answer is no. So when I set up my axes, I'm going to set them up so I am only in the first quadrant. I don't need the other quadrants here. Okay, let's label our axes. The y-axis, the up and down axes should have what units? Cost of the pizza, dollars. And the x-axis should have what units? Toppings. All right, let's go ahead and graph this. What's my y-intercept? What's my y-intercept? What's my y-intercept? What's our starting point? Melissa? Yeah, $5. So on my graph, I'm going to come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my starting point 0, 5. I can follow my slope now. My slope is 5/4. What's my change in y? What's my change in y? Is it here? Yep, so I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what's my change in x? Positive 4, so forward 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Forward 1, 2, 3, 4. How many dollars is it at 4 toppings? So a lot of you are busy trying to count it on my grid, which is going to be difficult to do. It'll be a whole lot easier if you actually have it graphed and you do it on your own grid, which is going to be also more useful for you when you're checking your notes later. So here, how many dollars is that? It is not $5. $5 would be right down here. So where does this hit? Okay, so that hits there at $10. One last problem. What do I need to do to fix this? If we are spending money, we are not going to be increasing the amount of money that we have. What do I need to do to fix this? Melissa? She says the 8 needs to be a negative. That would suggest to me that I'm $8 in debt, where I have negative $8. So you have the right idea, but it's not that we're negative $8. It's that we are, when we're using the money, we're spending it. Jorge. Yeah, put a negative over here. Y equals negative 0.50x plus 8. How can I rewrite the negative 0.50 with a fraction? How can I rewrite the negative 0.50 with a fraction? 0.50 should be an easy one. We shouldn't even have to show any work for this one. How can I write negative 0.50 as a fraction? Danilo. Well, 50 over 100, which would simplify to, 1/2. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 8. This is our equation. Now, the question is, are negative values relevant? X values, negative, what are the values of x? What do the values of x stand for? What are the units on the values of x? Samantha? Yeah, loads of laundry. Are negative x values relevant? Kip yes or kip no? Are negative x values relevant? No, you can't do negative loads of laundry. What about the y values? What do the y values stand for? What do the y values stand for? Jesus. Yeah, the amount of money you have. Money you have. Are negative values relevant here? I think you could make an argument here. But I think if you have experience in the real world going to a laundromat, the machines are not going to let you go in debt. Okay, so you're not going to be able to owe the laundromat money in this particular case. There are times when you can go places and they will let you go in debt. That's fine. But in this particular case, no, you cannot go in debt. So no, those are not relevant. So because of that, I'm going to set up my axes. So I only have the first quadrant because I don't need negative values here. What's my y-intercept? What's my y-intercept? Is it here?
8.
8. So I'm going to come up here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What's my change in y? What's my change in y? This is where you have to be careful. Samantha? It's a negative 1, so that means we're going down 1. And what's my change in x? Aaliyah? Sorry, what'd you say? 2. That means I'm going forward 2. So it should look like this. And my line was not very straight, that's why I use a straight edge. So I'm just going to kind of fix that. There we go. All right, how many loads of laundry can she do? How many loads of laundry can she do? What's going to be true when she has maxed out the number of laundry loads that she can do? So as we count over, we see that we run out of money at x is equal to 16. How much money will she have left after 7 loads? So if I come over to 7 loads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loads, and I go up, it's going to be somewhere between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to guess that it's probably around $4.50, since we're going in 50-cent increments here. Questions?